ओम परतत्वे सदा लीनो रामकृष्ण समाज्ञया यो धर्म स्थापन रतो वीरेशं तं नमाम्यहम्. We have been studying Swami Vivekananda's Raja Yoga, and after the preface and chapter 1, which was called Introduction, we started last time chapter 2, which is called the first steps. I start again the chapter 2. Raj Yoga is divided into 8 steps. It is called Patanjali Yoga. Name is Ashtanga Yoga. And Anga does not mean parts, Anga means steps. So, 8 steps. The first step is Yama. Yama means general rules. Yama means general rules to be followed by everybody if he does not want to fall down from his human nature. So it is called Yama. And what are they? They are 5. Non-killing, truthfulness, non-stealing, continence, and non-receiving of any gifts. I explained it on the last time. Non-killing is not literal, because in many situations in war you have to kill. And other than war also, if a bad person is coming, you know him, atatainam ayantam hanya deva avicharata. The Dharma Granthas in Hinduism tell us that if an atatai comes, without thinking you kill him. And atatai is defined as one who has stolen your wife, or one who has set fire on you, one who has stolen your land. 6 types of atatais are described. And if any one of this type comes, you just kill him without thinking. Nowadays, because of democracy and hundreds of things, these terrorists come and case goes on for years together. And then they put a ransom and then they run away. But what is called encountering these days. So just kill him when you see an atatai. So in such situations, killing is essential. So what is this non-killing? Swamiji later on has himself explained this. In Bengali, you see the Sanskrit words go into all Indian languages with a particular shade. So in Bengali, hinsa means jealousy. So ahimsa will mean absence of jealousy. We can still generalize and put it as absence of ill feeling towards others. This should not be there. For example, in the Gita, Bhagavan is telling Arjuna again and again, ahimsa, ahimsa, so many times he has told. And at his time, kill him. The Karna's chariot wheel has gone down, kill him at this point. So ordinary killing or non-killing is not meant. But in our mind, in Hindi, they say baddua dena. Something ill should happen to you, like that. So ill feeling should not be there. In this very context, Krishna is telling Duryodhana and Karna and everybody who have no ill feeling towards you. But you have proved to be a poison for the whole society, so we have to remove you. Not because we have particular ill feeling towards you. We have no ill feeling towards Bhishma and others. But because they have become the poison to the society, they have to be removed. So hundreds of such things come. So the meaning should be absence of ill feeling. Then truthfulness. This is absolutely necessary. I illustrated with several examples last time. Because what happens, you see, take Thakur's example. Thakur was again and again telling Kalimai, you take your dharma and you take your adharma. You take your punya, you take your pap. But he himself told, I could never say that you took your truth and untruth. Because if the truth is taken, where shall all this stand? All this giving up itself may be false, lying. So truth is something which in the Upanishads, Satyena Pantha Vitato Devayana. So truthfulness is absolutely necessary. General rule of life for human life. Non-stealing. Non-stealing also should be understood as from mind, mentally. All these things we are supposed to do physically, vocally, mentally. Then only it is complete. So somebody is saying, if my eye goes there and I want that, that is stealing. So coveting is the better word in English. I should not covet something belonging to my neighbor or to others. Then it is non-stealing. Then continence. Though Rajoga theoretically may be meant for all, even householders and everybody. But let me explain a little about this continence. People asked me a question in my Chandigarh days, in a public lecture. Why all our scriptures harp upon continence? I said, no, I'll explain it from Vedantic point of view. Brahman is without subject-object split. That is the main thing about Brahman. When we say Advaita, don't think of Aham Brahmasmi immediately. Advaita means in our Vyavahar, there is always a subject and object. That is not so in Brahman. Wherever there is a subject-object division, it is Maya. Now this subject-object division taken to the extreme is sex. There, all our indriyas, the entire mind and everything works. And so, the ultimate of subject-object division is sex. So, if we are going that side, we can never go this side, clear. So then, derivatively you can find in Prashnopanishad it is told, if the Grahasthas follow certain rules, then we shall say they are having continence. All that is concession given. But the meaning of continence is this. If mind goes in a subject-object split, it cannot go to the Brahman. So continence is important. And non-receiving of any gifts. This also I had explained. If you receive that story, shall I repeat? As soon as you accept a gift, your mind becomes mortgaged. That is the language used by my Guruji. Your mind is not yours. You cannot use it as you like. It becomes mortgaged. Then I give a very, very big example which is happening every day, not only in India but throughout the world. When India became independent, the finance minister was T.T. Krishnamacharya. And Krishna Menon was our High Commissioner in London. There was a businessman named Mundada. And he gave the gift of a free jeep to all the ministers, to high commissioners, to everybody in good position. He gave a free gift of a jeep. And then he got his work done, whatever he wanted to do. T.T. Krishnamacharya had to resign. Krishnamanan had to be called back. So that is the danger in accepting gifts. Now let us apply it to our life. If I feel, I am telling myself, how can I tell about others? If I feel that any person has benefited directly or indirectly from me, I accept his dakshina, otherwise I do not accept. I may not reject on his face, but as soon as I put in pocket, I call one of the brahmacharis wherever I am. Take money from my pocket and put in hundi. I never accept if I have not worked something for him. Anyway, so I am telling that one has to remain above it. One should not. And this is Swamiji has made it a general rule. Swamiji means Patanjali. Non-receiving of any gift. Next is Niyama. So 5 Yamas, general rules. Niyama means special rules. If you want to practice Patanjali Yoga Sutras or Rajoga, then these are applicable to you. So special. General means if you want to remain a good citizen, they are necessary. Even if you don't want to go higher. They save you from falling down from where you are. That is the general rules. And special rules means once you want to go to God or advance spiritually, then you have to follow these also. They are also fine. Those who are interested in the original Sanskrit names, Yama, Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Brahmacharya, Aparigraha. Niyamas: Shaucha, Santosha, Tapa, Swadhyaya, Ishvara Pranidhan. Now, cleanliness, Swachhata. Can you define Swachhata? I will repeat some examples which I gave that day. Something has happened to your watch. It is not working. You take to the repairer. You open and just with a blowpipe, some dust goes away. The watch is all right. Now where has that dust gone? In the room. But there it is not felt as unclean. In the watch it was unclean. You sweep your room and put in the dustbin. You understand? So things should find their proper place. That is Swachhata. The best example for this is Sri Ramakrishna's room. Sardan Swamiji made a mental experiment there, sitting in his room. Why the Ganges picture is in this corner? Can it not be in this corner? Why the knife is kept here? And he found that none of the items in Sri Ramakrishna's room could be placed in a better place. That is Swachhata to the extreme. Now when we have this meaning, then it applies automatically to the mind also. Do not harbor thoughts which are not meant, which are not useful at that time. So Swachhata is always said to be inner and outside. Otherwise cleaning hands with soap and mud and all that, that is meaningless Swachhata. All this should be psychologically meaning. Contentment. Now this is a very important issue. Let me repeat again. Contentment. Should a man be content? Tell me. All progress in society, whether science or religion or anywhere, comes only when man is discontent. But yoga prescribes contentment. So, contentment about the things world has given you. You write down this. Contentment about the things which world has given you, or you find yourself in situation God has given you, or whatever you like to call. But not about what you are today. You understand this point? I will illustrate. In Greece, in Socrates' time, there was no Raja, council, and some word which I am not able to pronounce, laissez-faire. That means government takes care of you for everything. That was the situation. So people in our work, they are roaming here and there, gossiping. Then Socrates used to go to any place where people are gossiping and used to ask them questions. Why are we born? What is our destiny? What is the nature of soul? And by the method of questioning, he gathered very few beautiful disciples, Plato, one of them. Now, in general, the society started feeling disturbed, dissatisfied. So he was charged that he is creating dissatisfaction in the society. And then the psychoanalyst of his days, they said because he is so much dissatisfied in life, so he is spreading dissatisfaction. And he was punished with death sentence for this fault. And what he said in the court, we do not know. But Plato has given words to that. A Socrates dissatisfied is better than a pig satisfied. That was his words. Who is more satisfied in life? Pig. Socrates is not satisfied. Of course, dissatisfaction cannot be the aim of life. But through dissatisfaction only we make progress. So you understand? Contentment about things world has given us, not contentment with what we are today. We have to improve and improve and improve. Understood contentment? Now, austerity. Tapa. Here again, stand on one foot, stand in Ganges, walk on thorns, do not wear clothes. That is not austerity. Bhagavan has condemned such austerity in the 17th chapter of the Gita. On the other hand, some words can be understood better by thinking of the opposites. If you love luxury, your spirituality will not improve. For spiritual progress, you have to undergo hardships. Here also I will give an example. These days, AC rooms closed, foam bed. What foam bed results you know? Sciatica or arthritis. And then the doctor asks you to sleep on stone or wood. But if you had used a proper surface, this would not happen. Closed rooms. All doctors are telling that unless you are exposed to the sun for at least half an hour or 15 minutes or in the daytime, your health will go down automatically. So what happens? Love of luxury kills a man. Examples I am just giving you. So while doing our work or sadhana or whatever, hardships may come our way and we should welcome them. That's all. That is the austerity portion. If you want more on austerity, Gita 17th chapter, Bhagavan has defined tapa in 3 different levels. Bodily tapa, vocal tapa and mental tapa. Beautiful description is given. Do you want now? Take out Gita. Lamba, big book. Biggest book. Biggest book. Biggest book. It has gone there. 17th chapter, Shloka 14, 15, 16. Gita 17th chapter, Shloka 14, 15 and 16. Devadvija Guru Pragya Pujanam Shaucham Arjavam Brahmacharyam Ahimsa cha Shariram Tapo Uchyate. Brahmacharya has come in that also. Devadvija Guru Prajna Pujanam. Devata Puja. Dvija. Brahmin or a learned man. Guru, your own teacher. Pragya, a wise man. Pujanam. This entails physical hardship. Here again example you have to give. Holy Mother Sarda Devi, she was a Brahmin by birth. So all her relatives were Brahmins. Now some doctor came, non-Brahmin, and she asked all the nieces to make salutations to him. And in those days the society was of a different type. So they looked at her, how? She said, how much Vidwan he is. You must go down to him. And when some Brahmin came, again she said, you go down to him. So she could combine this. So Prajna and Dvija, you understand here? Dvija does not actually mean a Brahmin. Twice born. When we are born, we are physically born. But when you go through education, then we are called twice born. So, twice born and Prajna is wise man, Pujanam. Shaucham, here it has come under this. Cleanliness, Arjavam. Straightness of the mind. People to avoid hardship, try zigzag way. But that will not give spiritual progress. Straightway, if you want to go, you will meet obstacles. You will have to undergo hardship. Brahmacharyam already defined. Ahimsa, already it has come. These are the Sharirika Tapasya. Vachik Tapasya. Anudvega Karam Vakyam Satyam Priya Hitam Chayat Swadhyaya Bhasanam Chaiva Vangmayam Tapa Uchyate. Two different ideas. Your speech should be, we should not produce excitement in the others, udvega. It should be truthful. It should be spoken in a pleasing way, and it should be beneficial to him or to you. That means unnecessary we speak many things. Just put this criteria, whether your talk is going to benefit him or benefit you. And Shankar says, all four are to be followed, then only it is tapasya. It is not your choice. Anudega karam or satyam or priya. So, four things together, that is called vachik tapasya and swadhyaya bhasanam. No, here Patanjali says swadhyaya is separate. But swadhyaya is the vocal tapasya. Swadhyaya itself has two meanings. Swamiji has given one. But technically it has two meanings. Study of scriptures, that is Swadhyaya. Repetition of a holy text is Swadhyaya. Like mantra japa. Every religion has this. Sikhs have a Sukhmani Sahib, a portion of, and they daily repeat it. There is this rosary in Christianity, in Islam, everywhere. So, repetition of a sacred text is one meaning. And study of scriptures gives you guidance. That is Swadhyaya. And this Swadhyaya is a vocal tapasya. Swadhyaya Abhasanam. Abhasanam means repetition. Always you have to do. This is Vangmaya Tapasya. Mana prasadaha saumyatvam maunam atma vinigraha bhava sanshuddhiritte tat tapo manasamuchyate. Mana prasada, important thing. Cheerfulness of the mind, tranquil, peaceful, joyful state of the mind has to be preserved. In the West, Swamiji told, our preacher should be serious faced. Swamiji said, I am serious only when there is dyspepsia in the stomach. Otherwise, I am always happy. Soumyatvam, gentle behavior. This is mental tapasya. Maunam, don't speak when it is not necessary. Maunam again does not mean people take Mauna Vrata and carry a slate with them always, write something. Don't talk when it is not necessary. Actually, Maunam in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad means Dhyana Parayana. Atma-vinigraha, overall self-control is manasik tapasya. Bhava Sanshuddhi is the most important. In Thakur words, Bhaver Gari Chori Korana. That means don't cheat yourself in your mind. Be very clear what you want. Be clear what you say. Manmukh ke karai sadhan Thakur said. That is Bhava Sanshuddhi. These are mental tapasya according to Gita. So we are dealt with tapasya from Gita and overlapping. So automatically we have covered study. Study is Swamiji's translation of Sadhyaya. So we covered that also. And self-surrender to God. Now Swamiji is telling you need not believe in anybody, this or that. But without this you cannot proceed. In the last chapter of Karma Yoga, I repeatedly told you, Swamiji has said no yoga is independent. They blend into each other and goal is the same. If you don't have this attitude, that means with ego if you proceed you cannot succeed in sadhana. That is the meaning. And absence of ego does not mean, again, subjugation of your ego to somebody. No. Ego means an individual, God means the universal. I remember, two places I will tell you. I told my Guruji, is ego not a problem? Then he said that, do you mean that you will submit yourself to somebody's authority? Not at all. Loss of ego only means surrender to God. So here, the words are not ego. Self-surrender to God. Self means ego. Surrender to God. Another example I remember, one of my friends, what was his name? Mahesh Maharaj. He asked Yatishwaranand how to get rid of ego. He said, first develop your healthy ego, then we shall take care. That means there is tamoguni ego, morbid ego. Develop your healthy ego. So understand? Self-surrender to God. Let me give the ultimate example given by Saint Gyaneshwar. There cannot be a better definition. He says ornaments are made of gold. And suppose the ornaments have consciousness. What do they know? Marathi man, you can write down. I told you perhaps. Alankarasi Sonia Vatuni Gatiche Nahi. Ornaments have nowhere to go other than gold. That is surrender. Otherwise, in history, a king surrenders A to B and then he is left alone. Then again he attacks. Muhammad Ghori was defeated by Prithviraj 17 times. And every time he said surrender, surrender, he was given up. And 18 times with the help of Jayachand, he killed Prithviraj. So A cannot surrender to B. The shadow surrendering to reality. Ornaments surrendering to gold. So this consciousness that it is God expression, one of them is I. That is self-surrender to God. Later on, Patanjali will tell us that these 10, if extremely practiced, how much they can give by themselves. And about self-surrender to God says you will get samadhi. 2-3 places he has told that. In samadhi place also he says, or by self-surrender to God. And about talking about self-surrender to God, he says samadhi. So that is self-surrender. Now here we are going beyond Patanjali. Though Patanjali is beyond complete explanation. I think I have told you, na, Patanjali's definition of God. Yes, in the preface, when Swamiji said difference between Sankhya and Yoga, I will tell you. Patanjali's God is only the first teacher or the eternal teacher. As Purusha like us, so Purve Shamapi Guru Kalena Anavacheda. Because time has no effect upon him, he is the Guru of the old Gurus also. How to surrender to him? But he has seen in society, in sadhakas, their idea of God is different. The bhakti idea of God or the Vedantic idea of God is that he is creator, preserver and destroyer of the world, and he is the sum totality of all the souls. Patanjali does not believe in any such sum totality. And he has seen people surrendering to God and waiting samadhi. So he has written that. This is a textbook, I told you, an unbiased general statement. So he has seen and he has written. Though he might not have understood how what has happened. Okay? So self-surrender to God, which normally we associate with bhakti, Gita gives. In 18th chapter, commenting on Shloka 56, what we think highest of bhakti, Shankar calls highest of jnana. No. 56, he has described the necessity and force of Bhakti Yoga. In 66, सर्वधर्मान परित्यज्य माम एकम शरणम व्रज अहम तो सर्व पापेभ्यो मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचा. Shankar says, Karmayoga Nishtaya Parama Rahasyam Ishvara Sharanatam Upasamrutya. Ishvara Sharanata is already told as the Rahasya of Karma Yoga. Idanim Karma Yoga Nishtha Phalam Samyak Darshanam Sarva Vedanta Vihitam Vaktavyam Itya. The result will be Samyak Darshan, Gyan, which is told in all the Upanishads. That is being told here. Sarva Dharman Parityaja does not mean give up Hinduism, Muslim Dharma. Dharma means characteristics. Sarva Dharman means individuality has characteristics. Give up all of them. Mam Ekam, the ISKCON people will tell you only Krishna. Mam Ekam means I am one without a second. Surrender to that reality. Give up individuality, surrender to universal reality, then it is my responsibility to lift you. This appears to be bhakti in the extreme. And Shankar called this is the Samyak Jnana. Okay? Let me hear. So this Yama and Niyama being very important, we have tried to go into details. Now let us see what Swamiji has to tell. Then comes asana or posture. Swamiji has only naming the 8 steps here. Pranayama or control of prana, not control of breath, control of prana. Pratyahara or restraint of the senses from their objects. Dharana or fixing the mind on a spot. That is Patanjali's definition. Vedantic definition of dharana is very different. In Vedanta, dharana means concept of God. Patanjali says fixing the mind on a spot. Dhyana or meditation and samadhi or super consciousness. This is also Vedantic definition. Now Swamiji talks about them detail. He has named the 8 things. The Yama and Niyama, as we see, are moral trainings. Without these as the basis, no practice of yoga will succeed. As these two become established, the yogi will begin to realize the fruits of his practice. Without these, it will never bear fruit. So the mental moral training is absolutely in that Hatha Yoga or Shatanga Yoga, they are not there. The yogi will begin to realize. A yogi must not, now is one of them, Ahimsa only has commented upon. A yogi must not think of injuring anyone by thought, word or deed. And he extends this. Mercy shall not be for men alone, but shall go beyond and embrace the whole world. But this much comment he has given on Ahimsa, we have tried to see in detail. And he has said that without this you will not succeed. The next step is asana, posture. Now as soon as we talk of this, big thing comes before us. Swamiji has himself discussed. Hatha Yoga prescribes some 82 or 84 postures and shifting from one to other. But Patanjali describes only a particular posture in which you can sit for a long time. So Swamiji discusses both here. A series of exercises, physical and mental, is to be gone through every day until certain higher states are reached. Therefore, higher states of concentration or consciousness. Therefore, it is quite necessary that we should find a posture in which we can remain long. One posture, that posture which is the easiest for one should be the one chosen. So, there is choice. For thinking, a certain posture may be very easy for one man, while to another it may be very difficult. What are the common postures? Sukhasana or Swastikasana is one, Padmasana is another. Now for some people difficult to have Padmasana. But those who succeed in Padmasana, they can remain for hours together. Siddhasana is one, you know. You extend your legs, hold at the knee point, and bring one heel below your organ, and the other heel above that organ. This is called Siddhasana. And people practice Virasana or Vajrasana, very difficult for some, but for some easy. So these are the common asanas where one can stay for a long time. So it may be certain position may be very easy for one, while it to another it may be very difficult. We will find later on that during the study of these psychological matters, a good deal of activity goes on in the body. Nerve currents will have to be displaced and given a new channel. New sorts of vibrations will begin. The whole constitution will be remodeled as it were. But the main part of the activity will be lie along the spinal column. Did I describe to you one day? Sushumna? Yes. Sushumna is a tube of the dimension of a thread. That should remain open. If it is bent, then it gets closed. That is the whole about asana. So, lie along the spinal column So that the one thing necessary for the posture is to hold the spinal column free, sitting erect, holding the three parts, the chest, neck and head in a straight line. Let the whole weight of the body be supported by the ribs, and then you have an easy natural posture with the spine straight. You will easily see that you cannot think very high thoughts with the chest in. No, this is important for another reason. In old age, you sit like that. So if in young age you sit like that, you are inviting old age quickly. In some homes, there was a tradition. As soon as a boy or a girl sit like that, somebody will come and sit from the back. Sit. That is helpful throughout the life. Now you feel nice, but then you suffer later. You will easily see that you cannot think very high thoughts with the chest in. This portion of the yoga is a little similar to the Hatha Yoga. Because similar means Hatha Yoga, so many asanas are there. What is Hatha Yoga? I told you one day. You use only your will without any wisdom or discrimination or knowledge. Force yourself to do this or that. So it's a physical something. And that is what is practiced these days as yoga. This portion of the yoga is like similar to the Hatha Yoga, which deals entirely with the physical body. Its aim being to make the physical body very strong. We have nothing to do with it here. Because its practices are very difficult and cannot be learned in a day, and after all, do not lead to much spiritual growth. Many of these practices you will find in Delsar. You know Delsar? Swamiji's time, a common physical system of exercise. Now there are so many systems these days. So Delsart was a common system, Western system, about a set of exercises. So there also you have to change like that. So Swamiji said this Hatha Yoga is like Delsart. And other teachers, some other systems, such as placing the body in different postures. But the object in this is physical, not psychological. There is not one muscle in the body over which a man cannot establish a perfect control physically. The heart can be made to stop or go on at its bidding, and each part of the organism can be similarly controlled. You know these Hatha Yogis demonstrate? I have not seen, but I have seen a man who had for 1 month got publicly buried himself in a below the level and came out after 1 month. So that is all what is called Kumbhak and all that. So Swamiji said the heart can be made to stop or go on at its bidding, and each part of the organism can be similarly controlled. The result, each part. One of my friends had practiced, he could move his ears like this. Ears he could move independently. The result of this branch of yoga is to make men live long. Swamiji discusses this because people confuse. He is practicing yoga, so he is spiritual. Health is the chief idea. The one goal of the Hatha Yogi. He is determined not to fall sick, and he never does. He lives long. 100 years is nothing to him. The man whom I am talking, he died at 105. Of course, our Swamis will live regularly. Even Akaman Swamiji went to 105. He lives long. 100 years is nothing to him. He is quite young and fresh when he is 150. You know, in Jnaneshwar's time there was a yogi, Sangadev. You know what was his age? 1400 years. 1400 years he was when he met Ganesha and transformed himself later on. He became a Vedanti disciple of Muktabai and like that. Without the hair turned grey. But that is all. A banyan tree lives sometimes 5,000 years, but it is a banyan tree and nothing more. You know that rhyming poem, English? The lily of a day is fairer far in May than standing long an oak 300 years to fall a log at last dry, bald and sere. Lily of a day is fairer far in May than standing long an oak 300 years to fall a log at last dry, bald and sere. So if a man lives long, he is only a healthy animal. One or two ordinary lessons of the Hatha Yogis are very useful. This which Swamiji has prescribed now, to get free from headache for all life. Some of our boys tried that. First thing they get is headache. For instance, but some practice it. For instance, some of you will find it a good thing for headaches to drink cold water through the nose as soon as you get up in the morning. The whole day your brain will be nice and cool and you will never catch cold. It is very easy to do. Put your nose into the water, draw it up through the nostril and make a pump action in the throat. Master Swami discussed asana like this. After one has learned to have a firm erect, it comes back to Patanjali Yoga and what you want asana. A firm erect seat, one has to perform according to certain schools a practice called the purification of the nerves, Nadi Shuddhi. Before pranayam, some people think that you should practice Nadi Shuddhi. This part has been rejected by some as not belonging to the Raja Yoga, but as so great an authority as the commentator Shankaracharya advises it, I think fit that it should be mentioned. And I will quote his own directions from his own commentary on the Shvatasvatar Upanishad. Some people doubt that this is not Shankar's commentary at all, but it goes by the name of Shankar. And there he quotes that Yajnavalkya is telling Gargi that Nadi Shuddhi should be done. A lengthy quotation is there. That Swamiji quotes. The mind whose dross has been cleared away by pranayama becomes fixed in Brahman. In Patanjali, Brahman is not there. Therefore, pranayama is declared. First, the nerves are to be purified. Then comes the power to practice pranayama. Stopping the right nostril with the thumb, through the left nostril fill in air according to capacity, then without any interval throw the air out through the right nostril and then reverse it. Closing the left one, again inhaling through the right nostril, eject through the left according to capacity, practicing this 3 or 5 times at 4 hours of the day, before dawn, during midday, in the evening and at midnight. In 15 days or a month, purity of the nerves is attained. Then begins pranayama. He has mentioned this. It is very useful. Practice is absolutely necessary. Again and again he comes. In preface, in introduction, here also. You may sit down and listen to me by the hour every day. But if you do not practice, you will not get one step further. It all depends on practice. We never understand these things until we experience them. So the understanding is not by logical brain, but by experiencing. We will have to see and feel them for ourselves. About Brahman, what Swamiji tells? You cannot have a correct understanding of Brahman at all by brain. Remember his poetry on Samadhi? You remember? First he said the world became shadow, then only one current remained, I, then that also stopped. The Shunya became Shunya, and then Amang Manasa Gocharam, we cannot describe it. Boje Pran Boje Jar. Boje Pran Boje Jar. Boje means understands. He only understands whose prana understands. Prana means heart. One who realizes, he only understands. Till then it is only approximation in buddhi. Huh? No, that is the next. Jai Surya Jai Kiran is Srishti song. Ekarupa Rupa Namavarana. And this is Samadhi song. Dhara Vabaddo Lo Shunya Shunya Milai Lo. Simple listening to explanations and theories will not do. There are several obstructions to practice. Now, one thing. Next. The first obstruction is an unhealthy body. So, though Hatha Yoga is for healthy, Swamiji does not want us to make body unhealthy. If the body is not in a fit state, the practice will be obstructed. Therefore, we have to keep the body in good health. We have to take care of what we eat and drink and what we do. Always use a mental effort, what is usually called Christian Science. In those days it was popular in America, faith, to keep the body strong. That is all. Nothing further of the body. I wanted to tell something. One young man approached Swamiji and he was not very healthy or stout So he is telling Swamiji that should I practice Raja Yoga? Swamiji said, where is the doubt? You have said that one can become mad or die if one... No. Swamiji said, let you die, what is that? Understood? The more importance is practice. But we should not spoil our health. That is the lesson. Man is weak, should not practice. That is not correct, Swamiji. At the most, what will happen? He said, you will come, you will die. What harm is there? So to understand Swamiji, you should see the whole thing. That is all. Nothing further of the body. We must not forget that health is only a means to an end. If health were the end, we would be like animals. Animals rarely become unhealthy. Now, the second obstruction is doubt. We always feel doubtful about things we do not see, subtler things. Man cannot live upon words, however he may try. So doubt comes to us as to whether there is any truth in these things or not. Even the best of us will doubt sometimes. What is the solution? With practice, within a few days, a little glimpse will come, enough to give one encouragement and hope. As a certain commentator of yoga philosophy says, when one proof is obtained, however little that may be, it will give us faith in the whole teaching of yoga. For instance, after the Swamiji has given an instance, for instance, after the first few months of practice, you will begin to find, you will begin to find you can read another's thoughts. They will come to you in picture form. I will talk something about it. Perhaps you will hear something happening at a long distance. When you concentrate your mind with a wish to hear, these glimpses will come. By little bits at first, but enough to give you faith and strength and hope. For instance, if you concentrate thoughts on the tip of your nose, in a few days you will begin to smell most beautiful fragrance, which will be enough to show you that there are certain mental perceptions that can be made obvious without the conduct of physical objects. This will open a very big field of philosophy, whether the outside world exists or not. People say it exists because the variety we get in experience. Then the variety we can get in experience by our own effort without the external world, it does not prove the external world. But we must always remember that these are only the means. The aim, the end and the goal of all this training is liberation of the soul. Absolute control of nature and nothing short of it must be the goal. We must be the masters and not the slaves of nature. Neither body nor mind must be our master, nor must we forget that the body is mine and not I the body's. Let me comment a little upon. We shall take this again tomorrow, because Swamiji is telling a story in support of this. But I will comment a little. Read another thoughts of the first thing. Now one incident in short. In Kashi, Turiyan Swamiji with a group of people were sitting and teaching something. And at a little distance, another Swami was sitting with his group. Then Turiyan Swamiji was talking about the universal mind. And he suddenly stopped and said, if some of you want to see fun, you go there. That Swami is reading my thoughts. So one or two people went there. And that Swami was telling, I will tell you what is in his mind. And he told one or two things and then stopped. Then his group people asked, what? Now I cannot read, he said. So those who had gone from here, they came back. Then Turiyan said, have you seen the fun? We saw, but we could not understand. You please tell. How that man was reading your thoughts. Turiyan Swami said, it is very simple trick. Swamiji has taught all of us with this trick. So I mentioned. Appears very simple, huh? Make your mind blank. Is that simple? Make your mind blank and look at that person. His thoughts will come to you. Then were you practicing like that? No. I was talking to in universal mind. So in universal mind, everybody's thoughts come. And because he was trying to read my thoughts, it came. And why stop? Is universal mind the only thing? I raised my consciousness higher. There he has no go. That was the full distinction. Understood? So we'll comment upon the other 2-3 portions tomorrow. Om Paratatve Sada Lino Ramakrishna Samagyaya Yo Dharma Sthapana Rato Vire Shamtam Namamyam. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanam.